28th, 2017. My name is Bill McCamley. I am a state representative from Las Cruces and Mesilla with your legislative update for the day. On Friday, the governor signed a couple of different bills that the New Mexico legislature sent up in our recently concluded special session. What do? Well, number one, it fixes the budget for universities, the legislature, and the magistrate courts. These are three things that she vetoed at the end of the regular legislative session in March. Secondly, she signed a couple of very makeshift bills that were designed to use appropriations that would normally be used for infrastructure. And this is short-term bonding. So this is money that the state would borrow to pay for things like roads and community centers, et cetera, and so on. Instead of paying for that, we will borrow the money, but we'll put it into this year's budget. And remember the crisis that we're in, it results from the fact that we cut taxes on wealthy investors, the upper income tax brackets, and corporations over the last 10 or 15 years. Jobs really haven't been created, and so we've been so reliant on oil and gas revenues that when those revenues are down, we've gone through 2 or 3 years of really hard times fiscally. We've basically gone through all our reserves. We don't really have any left. We've scraped up every dollar that we can from accounts that haven't been used and a few other places. So now we're left to using our short-term borrowing capacity to make up for the fact that we haven't had the money coming in to fund our schools and our cops and our social workers at the levels they need to be funded. So what does that mean for you? Number one, revenue over the last 2 months has been above projections because we based our budget on $44 a barrel for oil, and it's been up around $50. So if that keeps up, then the budget that we signed and put into place for the next year should just barely be matched by the revenues the state has coming in. So that means if you are a state employee, if you're a university student, if you have a kid in school, those resources should still be available to you. However, if oil and gas prices drop or something else happens in the economy and taxes drop, remember those taxes are directly tied to the services we provide. So if that happens, we will have to go back and either cut more or find ways of raising new revenue. That's the situation that we find ourselves in for you. The other strong possibility and how this situation affects you is that Moody's, the national bond company, will very, very probably lower the state's bond rating. They usually require a set amount of money in reserves in case emergencies happen. And since we don't have any right now, they're basically going to lower our bond rating, which is basically like lowering a credit rating. And why should you care about that? Well, future loans, bonds that we take out to pay for roads and water systems and community centers and schools, et cetera, and so on, it's going to cost you as the taxpayer more money. Just like if your credit rating went down, it would cost you more as a home buyer to get a mortgage. So that's what we're probably going to find ourselves in because the governor vetoed all the revenue packages that we sent her, including a couple that no one had any problems with, like an internet sales tax and a hospital bill that would have raised taxes on hospitals, but allowed for some of that revenue to go to county Medicaid funds, which would allow them to get more money from federal Medicaid and basically been a better situation for hospitals and patients in the state. She vetoed both of those things as well as some other stuff. So that's the situation we find ourselves in. That's pretty much it. We will have to go back up on Tuesday because if we hadn't have recessed instead of adjourned, and that's a technical term, but what that meant is that the governor had 3 days to sign or veto any of this stuff. If she would have vetoed everything, we would have gone to try back up there and override the veto, but since she signed just enough for us to get by, I imagine that Tuesday's meeting will be pretty simple, but if anything happens, I'll let you know. So as always, if you have questions, comments, or concerns on these or any other issues, I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching this, and please enjoy your Memorial Day weekend and take a second to remember those folks that has sacrificed for this country and allowed us to be where we're at today. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks.